Dear student, myself Rajendra Asiri, I am assistant professor in computer science department at Government Bangad PG College, Didwana. In previous lecture, we started a lecture series on transaction management system under the topic or under the subject database and management system. So till now we covered various concept basics of a transaction. What actually transaction? It is basically a collection of we can say application programs with the help of which we can access the database and do some operations, right? In transaction, it involves various properties which is called as ACID property. A stand for atomicity, C stand for consistency, I stand for isolation, and D stand for durability. So all these concepts with help of an example fund transfer from an account A to account B, we have discussed all these property, right? After that we started a concept on transaction state. In a transaction, if the transaction is currently executing, then it is called as in active state. Now, suppose transaction has done with 30% or 40% or some partial execution successfully, then it is called as partially committed state, right? Now, suppose transaction is going on and in between some failure occurred. Failure can be software, hardware, crashes, any type of failure. Then, if the transaction failed, then it is called as failed state of the transaction. Now, sometime we forcefully abort the transaction. The state is called as abort state of the transaction. And once the suppose transaction is in the partial committed state, then it can go to the abort state as well as it can go to the fully committed state. If the fully successful transaction completed, then fully committed state, right? Now, implementation of atomicity and durability. How we can ensure the implicity implementation of the atomicity and the durability in a successful transaction, right? So atomicity means either transaction step should be executed in fully manner or not at all, right? And durability means the changes of the transaction should be persist, clear, should be durable until they are reflected in the database in perfect manner, right? So the recovery management component of a database system implement the support for atomicity and durability. Example, shadow database technique or system scheme is there. We will do this shadow paging concept, shadow database in very much detail in the upcoming lectures. Just brief overview I am giving here. So in shadow database scheme, all updates are made on a shadow copy of the database. Now here one pointer db underscore pointer, the name is given. We can change the name also, but here we are using database pointer which is made to point the updated shadow copy after the transaction reaches partial committed or all the updated pages have been flushed to the disk. Okay, so see the diagram. We are having two copy, one is old copy and one is the new copy. So initially the database pointer is pointing to the old copy of the database. Clear? This is the first part before the update. Now second part, after the update, uh, the database pointer will point to the new copy of the database, right? Now the old copy is also maintained. Suppose we want to roll back into a previous state, then old copy plays very important, right? And once the update is durable, we can say persist, then we can remove the old copy. Okay. Now implementation of atomicity and durability continues. Now database pointer always point to the current consistent copy of the database. In case of the transaction fail, old consistent copy pointed to by the database pointer can be used and the shadow copy can be deleted, right? Now in shadow database scheme, we assume that only one transaction is active at a time. Means we are trying to satisfy the concept of isolation. or concurrency. Assume that disk do not fail. These are the assumption that we are assuming that only one transaction is active at a time, and we are assuming that disk do not fail. Now it is useful for text editor but extremely inefficient for large database. Why? Because variant called shadow paging reduces copying of the data but is still not practical for the large databases. So it does not handle concurrent transactions. Now, what do we mean by concurrent transactions? So, when multiple transactions are allowed to run concurrently or in parallel manner in a system, then there are some advantage. First, it will increase the processor and disk utilization. Processor utilization will be more if we are running more than one transaction in parallel, right? So it is leading to better transaction throughput because throughput depends upon the processor utilization and disk utilization. Example, suppose one transaction can be using the CPU while another is reading from or writing to the disk. They are engaged with different tasks, but they are doing the task in parallel manner. Suppose one is busy with the CPU and another transaction is performing the reading and writing task, right? Now concurrency control scheme. Before that, it reduced the average response time. How? For transactions, short transaction need not wait while the long one transaction need to wait. So first short transaction will be serviced and after that long transaction will be serviced. Okay, so it will reduce the average response time when we implement the concurrency. Now, once we apply the concurrency mechanism, then there should be one mechanism, cross mechanism, which should control the concurrency degree. Means how many transaction can run at a time in parallel manner, right? If we are adding more and more transaction in concurrent manner, then it can degrade the performance further after one point time, right? So concurrency control mechanism, these are the mechanism to achieve the isolation property. How? That is to control the interaction among the concurrent transaction in order to prevent them from destroying the consistency of the database, right? Now, schedule. We are introducing a concept of schedule. Schedule is nothing else whenever we are running more than one transaction in parallel or collection of more than one transaction is called as a schedule. Now, schedule can be of two type. It can be serial schedule or it can be concurrent schedule. What is serial schedule? Serial schedule means if suppose we are assuming that there are two transactions which are running in a database system. So if you are saying that first T1 transaction is doing all its operation or step, and after the completion of T1 transaction, second transaction, that is T2 transaction, is started, then this is called as the serial transaction. So there may be two possibility, either T1 first and then T2, or T2 first and then T1. Okay, so number of transaction is 2, then factorial 2 possibility. If there are number of transaction is 3, then total 6 possibility are there, that is factorial 3. How? Suppose T1, then T2 and then T3, first possibility. Second possibility, T1 first number, then T3 and then T2, second possibility. Third possibility is T2, then T1 and T3. Fourth possibility, T2, T3 and T1. Fifth possibility, T3 at first place, then after that T1, T2, T3, T1, T2, and last sixth possibility is T3, T2 and T1. So total factorial 3, that is factorial total 6 possibility are there. 6 schedules are possible when there are 3 transactions. So one concept comes from this particular analysis is that if there are n transaction, then total possible schedule will be factorial n, right? Now we are going in detail. So schedule is basically a sequence of instruction that satisfy or that specify the chronological order in which instruction of the concurrent transaction are executed, right? Now a schedule for a set of transaction must consist of all the instruction of those transaction. It must preserve the order in which the instruction appear in each individual transaction, right? Okay, it must preserve the order in which the instruction appear in each of the individual transaction, right? Now, a transaction that successfully completes its execution will have a commit instruction as the last step. Means once a particular transaction is successfully completed all its step, then it should have or it will have a commit instruction as the last statement of that transaction, right? By default, transaction assumed to execute commit instruction as its last step, right? Now, a transaction that fails to successfully complete its execution will have an abort instruction as the last statement, right? So either transaction can be fully committed or it can go in abort statement. Why abort state? Because the last statement we are not able to complete all the statements successfully, right? Now some schedule are possible. So schedule one example we took in the previous class. In that we transfer from account A to account B $50. So that same example we are continuing in this lecture series, so that it will be easy to understand for all of you, right? So suppose we want to transfer $50 from account A to B in transaction T1, and in transaction T2 we want to transfer 10% of the balance from A to B. So both the transaction involves different set of processing and different set of operation on account A and account B. First transaction involves deduction of $50 from A and adding $50 to B. And second transaction involved calculating the 10% of the balance, after that deducting it from A and adding to B, right? So we are doing this. So in schedule 1, first possibility is first T1 process and then T2, and second possibility is first T2 and then T1. This type of schedule is called as serial schedule, right? Now in T1 schedule, what is happening? We are reading first account A, then after that we are subtracting $50 from A, then updating the value A with the new value. After that we are accessing account B, adding $50 to B, and then updating the account B with the latest value, right? So T1 completed here. After that we are starting, after the completion of T1 we are starting what? T2. In T2 the first statement is we want to calculate 10% of the A. So first we need to access A. After that we are calculating A into 0.1. It means 10% of A, and we are saving this value in a temporary variable. The variable we took is temp. Now after that, this temp we need to subtract from account A. So A minus temp is going into A, and after that A value will be updated with the remaining 0.95 of A, right? After that we need to access B and add this subtracted value of temp from account A and add this into B. So B plus temp will go into B and final B will be updated. Okay. So in this manner, schedule 1, schedule 2, in schedule 2 the second possibility, that is T2, is performed first and then T1. So in T2 the setup operation is first access A, then calculate 10% of A and store it in temp variable, then subtract temp from account A and then update the value of A in database. Second, at the fifth step, read the account B, access account B, then add the temp value to account B, and then final update this account B value in the database, right? So T2 is done first. After that we are performing the step of T1, that is A access, then deduct 50 from A, then update value of A in database, then access B, add 50 to B, and then update or write B in the database. Okay. Now third schedule is called as concurrent schedule. It means some part of the T1 done. T1 is not fully committed. Suppose 40% or 50% task is done, and after that we are doing the some step of T2. Then again we are switching to T1 and then T2. This type of schedule is called as concurrent schedule. Now a concurrent schedule is called as equivalent to a serial schedule, either schedule 1 or schedule 2 in the previous slide, if it maintain the consistency. Means before the start of the transaction, a plus b value is same as after the execution of both the transaction a plus b, then it maintain the consistency. If it is maintaining the consistency, then the concurrent schedule is equivalent to its serial schedule, right? So in this schedule 3, what we are doing, first T1, in T1 we are subtracting 50 from A and then updating the value of A. After that in T2 we are reading the value of A, latest value of A, which are being written by the T1, then we are calculating temp 0.1 of A, then subtracting temp from A and then writing. Then we are switching back to the T1 and doing 50 addition in the B, and after that again switching back to the T2 and we are adding temp to the B. So in this manner, in schedule 1, 2 and 3, the sum A plus B is preserved in all these 3 cases. So all are equivalent, right? Schedule 4, suppose I am doing read A equal to A minus 50 in T1, then operation is done, subtraction is done, but not updated in the database. That's why when T2 will read not the 50 subtracted value, it will read the previous value, old value. Suppose initially A value is 1000, A equal to A minus 50 means A value will be 950, but it is not updated in the database. We are going to T2 and step 1 is read A. So read A doesn't read the 950, it read the 1000 value only, 1000 read. So in this case it is not preserving the property of A plus B. That's why it is not equivalent to the serial schedule. It is not a concurrent schedule. That's all from this lecture. Thank you.